Destinations and adventures, announcements and updates. You are now tuned in to the Disney Holic Show.
Hello and welcome to the Disney Holic Show. That's Mike TV.
And that's Jen Diz.
Today we are covering the updates from Destination D23 and our thoughts around them, as well as hear from a friend of the show about how it felt to actually be there. All right, so I know I said we're going to talk all about Destination D23 in today's episode, but I do have a reminder that I have to start off with, and it's because I want everyone to show up. If you live in the Bay Area and you are free this coming Sunday, the 17th in the evening, show up. Like, come full force, Disney Holic mode, deck yourself out, wear ears, like do it all, and come to Disney Drag. So it's a drag show with Disney costuming and theming and singing and dancing, and it is a literal blast. Like, I cannot emphasize how much fun this is. So please come if you can. It's at Club 1220 in Walnut Creek. That is, once again, Club 1220 in Walnut Creek. Look it up. I think the official start time is 7. However, they suggest starting or showing up a little early to get good seats. So I will probably be there as early as they let me in the door, like 6:30, 6 o'clock or something like that. I'll be rolling over there for sure. So super, super excited and can't wait to see what they have in store for us this time.
How fun. I'm a little jealous, but it's good for you all Bay Area people. A lot of fun Disney stuff to do.
Every time there's a Disney drag show, I get real bummed out that you don't live closer. That's okay. We have this Disney Holic show to keep us entertained.
Yeah.
So. All right, so let's move on over to Destination D23. And first and foremost, in case you haven't heard of it, wanted to let everybody know, what is Destination D23? So this is something put on by the D23 fan club, which is the ultimate Disney fan club, right? So all of us should be following it or be part of it at least. There is a free level membership, which I also highly suggest everyone getting on just to see extra fun Disney stuff coming about. And Destination D23 usually happens on the, I believe it's, I could be wrong here. Shoot. I wish I had time to look this up. I forgot. I think it's on every other year when D23 Expo is not happening. Do you know if that's right?
Yeah, that's usually it. It's in that gap year because the Expo's every other year. Although everything got thrown off by a year after a pandemic. So
right,
it's no longer,
I need to
right?
Figure
it used to follow the same odds and evens, but now I think it's a little bit reversed.
Right, exactly. So it is a bit smaller than D23 Expo. However, they have a lot of really crazy fun, like panels to watch, experiences to go to, parties. They have all the big hitters coming out on stage to introduce new announcements to us, new park announcements, new whatever it is, but it does seem to be more park focused in general, which I really like about it. Super bummed I didn't get to go this year. Just bad timing. I just couldn't swing it because we're about to be on a Disney cruise in not too long. So,
and usually the Destination D is usually in Orlando.
Yes.
Expos in Anaheim. At least that's been the pattern that I'm familiar with.
Yeah, it seems really smart too that they just kind of hop the coasts of where the parks are. So it's at the park at both of their expos, right? So very, very cool. So yeah, this is the 8th annual Destination D. So yeah, I will likely be going next year because I had a lot of FOMO this year.
I'm sure.
Right.
Which we'll find out. You have a lot of good stuff to share.
It's just so fun to be there. I miss being in that moment of hearing all the fun stuff. So anyway, let's move on to the announcements that they did have. And we're going to start off over on the West Coast at the Disneyland Resort. Not too many updates here, but they did give us a little bit of a insider's look at the ride vehicles for the new e-attraction coming to Avengers Campus. Did you see this?
Okay, I am so excited that we got Yet another Marvel update. And I'm shocked that they keep changing the ride concept. So, what did you learn about it? I definitely have thoughts.
I am so confused at this point. I really don't know what's going on.
You and me both.
Right. It's like, okay, is this, I heard at some point it was going to be very similar to Flight of Passage, but the ride vehicle doesn't make sense for that, or at least it might. I don't think it would really work in that situation, right? Because you'd have to be like,
Yeah.
there's two, at
So
least
let's
two
think back
rows.
to the very first announcement we got. Gosh, I don't know how many expos ago that was.
Yeah.
This is where the Flight of Passage rumors started because in that concept art of the very first announcement, the attraction was supposed to be us as, heroes in training going along with the Avengers on a trip to Wakanda using this new technology that looked like single chairs. And in the concept,
Right.
it looked like someone was sitting in a chair, almost like Soren, but by yourself. And you were like superimposed onto the concept art. So that's where the rumors started going with Flight of Passage. And it also made sense. Like, what else can they fit in that corner of DCA? So
Right.
that made sense. And then the next time we went to the expo, they completely changed the story. And it was King Thanos. We're now going to encounter King Thanos. And that's kind of all they told us. They showed a bunch of Marvel characters in the concept art. And the ride vehicle definitely changed. It didn't look like a chair anymore, but it still was like unknown. And then now in this new concept art, they changed the story again. And now we're going to be jumping through the multiverse using pretty much all the technology of the MCU. They combined all of it. They're like Wakandan this and multiversal this. And suddenly it almost looks like Star Tours now. Womp, womp. So I'm
Oh
not
my
sure about
gosh.
that. And if you combine Star Tours with Flight of Passage, you get Universal Studios Back to the Future in the Simpsons ride, which is
Yes.
also pretty outdated. And I hope it's not that.
And makes me
Right.
nauseated. And I don't
Right.
get sick very easily I don't have like bad motion sickness. So yikes
Yeah,
for
hopefully
that.
not that. I think everyone's in agreement. Like we really don't want it to be super screen based. Obviously, it's going to be some sort of screen based. The only upside I see about the new story concept, let's assume the ride vehicles or mechanics are going to be great. What I don't like, what I do love about the story is that they figured out how to make it like Star Tours. So since it's based about traveling through the multiverse, they can very easily add in new characters and storylines as the MCU progresses. So imagine 2035, there'll be like X-Men inside of that ride. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm excited, but also still, it's a question mark, I guess.
Right. Yeah. So I've heard Flight of Passage, Star Tours. I've also heard what was the other one? There was something
Cosmic
kind of in
Rewind.
between. I did hear Cosmic Rewind also, but hold on, what was the other one that somebody was
Yeah.
mentioning? Ah, I'm forgetting it. It
Spider-Man
was
Universal Studios.
no,
I heard that too.
I can't remember, but
Yeah.
oh man, I just had it again too. I lost it. But yes, I also did hear Cosmic Rewind, but there's no space for it, right? That's like pretty
I
much up
wouldn't
against
hate it.
Harbor Boulevard.
Yeah, they would have to. Oof. I'm always surprised at what they squeeze in places. And I don't know if they'd have to change the shape of the giant building, right? That we've seen in Epcot for Cosmic Rewind. The interesting thing is, number one, obviously we would love that because we love that ride.
Yes.
And with a new story on top of it, but still Marvel would be cool. The thing that is maybe a breadcrumb to people thinking this is the concept art has that same exact jumping portal that
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy uses, which is like the grid from a certain type of species. So I don't know if that's just a coincidence or not. But yeah, my first thought was, where the heck are they going to put that giant building? But if they did use that, woo, that would be pretty cool.
That would be
A massive Avengers battle
amazing.
in that. Imagine, oh, so cool.
God.
Yeah.
So exciting nonetheless, but also just super confusing. I'm like, okay,
Yes.
what is this? What is this now? We'll see tomorrow. I now wish I had kept the poster that they gave away at D23 Expo with the King Thanos on it, because now it's like an
Oh,
extinct idea, right?
I
It's
bet
like
it's somewhere around me in
concept
my
art that's no
clutter
longer happening.
of Disney stuff hidden behind this green screen.
Right. All right. Well, next up in Disneyland, you did mention Star Tours. So we also heard that Ahsoka will be joining Star Tours in the spring of
Yeah.
2024, which is super exciting. And we already got to meet Ahsoka in person in Galaxy's Edge. So she came out when her show debuted. And also Hera and Chopper are also now out on the regular in Batu. So totally following along with the Avengers Campus mold. And I love it. Like, bring it on. More characters, the better. I think it's so fun. It's more of a living, breathing.
It's so
land
natural
that way.
too. When I saw pictures of Hera, I didn't even think twice. I was like, oh, Galaxy's Edge. And I was like, wait, what? She's there?
Yeah. I'm like, wait,
She
hold
just
on.
seemed
Yeah.
natural there. Yeah, it was really cool.
And they look
then
really
the
good too. They did a
casting
great
for
job.
those, yeah,
Mhm.
really good.
Really good. Every time I hear her name, though, I just think of Jerry. Don't you call him Hera?
His nickname is Hera for Gerardo.
Oh my gosh. Well, that is I guess we have one more at Disneyland, and this is at, I believe, Disneyland and Disney World, but Asha from Disney's upcoming movie called Wish.
Oh yeah.
We'll be having a meet and greet coming to Disneyland. So that's pretty cool.
Fun. Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on over to Disney World. Lots of updates there. And I think that maybe they saved some of those for, Destination D is in Orlando. So maybe they're kind of focusing a little harder on their things that are changing and whatnot. But in Magic Kingdom, they announced, this is pretty cool. They have a new pirate themed restaurant opening. No new date for this, but it's going to be like a pirate's tavern. And one thing that they announced for this is that they're going to have the Barker bird back. I don't know if you remember this, because I don't think I even got to see it in real life. I think it was gone before I was old enough to go to Disney World. But they used to have a Barker bird, similar to how they used to have at the Tiki Room in Disneyland, in front of Pirates of the Caribbean. So they're going to have that Barker bird back as part of the story in the new Pirates Tavern, which I think is very cute. And it reminds me a lot of Rosita's story from the Tiki Room, and now she's in Tropical Hideaway.
The Grand Return. Is the Barker bird the one you said in the front of Pirates, like by the little island map in the queue in Disneyland? That's where it was, or
it was in. I don't think they had it in Disneyland, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was Disney World only.
Oh, you know me, I blur those lines all the time.
I mean, it was, yeah, it was a long time ago, so I could be wrong. I definitely didn't see it in person as far as I can remember, but very cute for them to bring back an old friend like that, which is just very cute. And were we not just talking about something in that space coming in? Was that with you or somebody else? We're talking about the space they'd have to use to create something in between that restaurant, Pecos Bill, and Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh yeah.
What was that? What were we talking about?
We were trying to figure out the new New Orleans facade that they're adding, and they're splitting up.
That's right, because Tiana's there.
So Liberty Square and New Orleans are going to be its own thing, and then Adventureland still has to start at some point right around that corner, I believe.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was like just trying to dig in my brain. I'm like, what was it that we were talking about in that same area? So I guess that's another way for them to like really show that this is now Adventureland, right?
Yeah. Oh, and we love a lounge. I mean, they've realized that, like Disney, especially Disney adults, like give us a lounge, we'll spend money, we'll hang out and chill.
Right.
Especially if there's a theme. Yeah.
We sure will. And then for all of you Haunted Mansion fans that have been waiting for the Hatbox Ghost to finally materialize, he is finally joining the show in late November of this year, which I thought was very weird that they didn't make the like Halloween cut, right? Like
I got some tea on that. Want to know
what? Tell me all about it.
This is a working fan theory, which is related to our favorite thing that we tried to avoid talking about, but it keeps coming up, is politics. So because of that whole new Reedy Creek thing, where now the state of Florida and Ron DeSantis have a say in how things are built in the parks, they were worried that with this first big change, that unfortunately the political party would then purposely make it take longer to get the fire approval for adding the Hatbox Ghost. And if they did that, they would have lost Haunted Mansion for all of Halloween, for all the parties and all that. So they made the safer bet and was like,
okay,
let's just wait till after. And if they want to dick us around, it doesn't matter. It's not going to impact Halloween. And it kind of makes sense.
That
I
makes a
get
lot
it,
of sense.
right? Better
Especially
safe
with the
than
Halloween
sorry.
party being there. Like,
Yeah.
can't mess with
Yeah.
that. How good, oh my God, could you imagine going to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party and there's no haunted mansion?
Right? Just send everyone to Ron DeSantis's house. Be like, this is you messed
Trick
up
or
our
treat.
Halloween. Trick or treat. Yeah, but they definitely missed two opportunities. They missed the Haunted Mansion movie and then Halloween.
Yeah, it's very interesting timing. I was like, November, okay, I guess. But I didn't really dig into it anymore. So thanks for coming with that tea for sure.
Yeah.
I did hear a lot of conversations going around though, again, which I just think is fun to talk about. It's like the fan theories on if the Hatbox Ghost is the 1000th ghost, or what's the story there? Because they're always looking for the 1000th ghost, right? What do you think about that?
One of the things I heard, and now I can't remember if it was straight from their presentation or not, but it was the hot box. I'd like to see a hot box go.
We were talking about
Uh,
that for costume, weren't we? Hot
I
box
think
ghost.
so, right? Doesn't sound like the first time we tripped over the hot box ghost. But the hat box ghost is allegedly not a happy haunt. He's a
That was on the
mischievous,
panel.
right? Okay, yeah. So therefore, he's not one of the 999, and then they can change him around location wise, something like that.
That was really
It's
interesting.
it's a spin, it's a cop out, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, the fan theory has always been like he was there, he just isn't materializing. He's part of the
Oh,
999. He's just not around. Like he's already in that original
yeah.
count, which
That
I
makes
like
sense for
better.
Disneyland too, right? Disneyland, he
Yeah.
is part of the party, like the whole
Right.
thing. Yeah.
Yep. And why is he so mad? Like, why do we have to make him a villain now? He was in the movie. So like either
Yeah.
they're really rolling off of the film, which is interesting, or
Well, and then the surprise that they announced is that when the head materializes in the Florida one, it's going to be Jared Leto's face, who
stop.
played the half box ghost in the movie. Imagine. Just his regular face, like not even
Jared Leto is not even allowed to
effects.
ride that ride, as far as I'm concerned, because I
Effects.
hear he ruins everything he touches. So back off. Thank you.
Oh, Morbius.
Oh, I loved him so much. So as what was his name?
Catalano.
What was it?
Jordan Catalano.
Jordan Cattle.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I have the biggest crush on him when I was in high school. Good Lord, that man. Okay.
And even then, he broke hearts and confused people because remember, he wrote that beautiful song to Angela in My So-Called Life. Okay, we're going way back, 90s, and called Red, and she had red hair, and she thought it was so romantic. Turns out it's about his car that was colored red, and it wasn't her.
I don't remember that. That's
So
terrible.
good, so good.
That's so sad.
Oh, Jordan.
That must have been so embarrassing for her. And then another thing that a lot of people have been talking about, which I also agree with, and I can't remember if I already brought this up on the show or not, but the location of the Hatbox Ghost. It looks like they are putting him in the corridor of doors area, but that kind of like screws up the whole story because supposedly the ghosts aren't supposed to materialize until Madame Leota makes them materialize.
Yeah, calls
and
upon
he's
them.
now before. So now it's like, what the heck is going on? So I guess he's this rogue haunt that is just I guess whatever.
That's the only way they could explain it away is that but then it conflicts with the story at Anaheim.
Yeah, and I never really thought about it until this like has been coming up with the Hatbox Ghost, but it's a very similar like storyline of pirates. Like they have the first part where they're all skeletons, and then you go into their history and their story. So like I really like that. But now it's getting all messed up. This dang high.
Interesting.
Just put him out in the other area. They have one there too. Like, come on.
Wait, every time we ride by that empty space in Orlando, I keep expecting to see the Hatbox
You're
Ghost.
like, why is he not here yet?
And if they still have that weird blank spot, it's going to remain that way.
Yeah. It's a very interesting decision. I feel like there might be more to it, and I'm excited to see what that means, but who knows? Maybe not. Just seems like a interesting decision when they don't need to, because that area is already like full of things to look at too. So we don't need a character right there. So
yeah. Oh, and we're losing the infamous Donald Duck chair in order to get that. So
yeah, that's also like, I mean, it's just a chair, but still, like, just leave it. It's kind of nice being spooky, the unseen, right? Like I like that start of the Haunted Mansion where you feel like you can't see anything yet, and you hear the doors are breathing, and the house is somehow coming alive and it's like spookier and spookier, and then all of a sudden you get to see all the ghosts. Like that's cool, but whatevs. We'll see. I'm sure it'll be fine. And then also in Magic Kingdom, they announced that there is a new act coming to the Country Bear Jamboree. Not much of a different title. It's called the Country Bear Musical Jamboree, which it always has been musical, so it's kind of funny. But we are going to get to see some new content, and they get to sing some new songs. I'm sure those poor bears are tired of repeating themselves over the last however many years they've been stuck on the same track. Thank you. But it looks pretty cute.
I love it. And I don't know if you remember, but I called it what I said when we were talking about that New Orleans stuff a while back when Tiana's was announced. I remember saying, okay, the only way this could really work is if they treat the Country Bears as a band that's on tour coming back to the Grizzly Theater in New Orleans, and they're just on tour.
Oh my
and
God,
the way
did
they
you
did
really
it,
say all that?
yeah,
like dead on.
I was trying to help them spin it, and sure they spun it. And I love the little poster. It looks like a festival poster.
It's so cute. I
of a
want one
band
really
on
bad.
tour. Yeah, great merch, and I'm one of the few who I think I'm okay with the music changing, only because it was inevitable, right? Because the lyrics were.
Yeah, I think those kind of shows should, you know what I mean? Like it's
especially
it's
if they're
cool that they
living,
can
breathing
change.
band.
Right.
It goes with the story more. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because it's not New Orleans music at all. It's still going to be country.
Disney. Oh yeah, and
Disney and country. Yeah. When they're doing, it sounds like they're doing different styles of country, which is really cool. But then also mixing in Disney songs.
Yeah.
So like Bare Necessities was one that they were showing. So I'm like, that's cute. It's the Bears. Yeah. Fine. Sing Bare Necessities.
I hope they'll do maybe a couple of Princess and the Frog songs. It's as if like Taylor Swift was on tour in New Orleans. So she'll bring her music. They're going to bring their bear music, but it's in this new land.
True. That's
we love a spin.
I'm sure they have country concerts in New Orleans.
Yeah, that's right.
They and there's change all the radio stations to only listen to jazz out there. Like no one can listen to anything else in all of New Orleans.
It seems like at least big stars in the music industry. I don't know if I recognized all the names, but they really try to show off like the people that are writing and recording all of the new tunes and melodies and covers.
Yeah,
pretty big names in country.
Very cute. All right, moving on over to Epcot. I have a visit from my friend. I have this doll for the people who cannot see. I've had him since I was, I don't even know how old, like 8. And he has a big tear in his back with the stuffing popping out, but it's Figment.
Yay.
And the first Epcot update was that Figment meet and greet started like as of that night. So at Destination D, those people who were attending got to meet Figment, and it started the very next day up for everyone that's in Epcot to visit and meet Figment over in the Imagination Pavilion. So very cute. However, did you see he already had his first tumble? I don't know if it was like his debut or what, but man.
That's a big costume. It has like a tall neck and head.
Yeah, everybody is making fun of how he looks because he looks a little like taller and like
chesty.
Like real like solid instead of like cute and kind of wiggly, right?
I am wondering why the previous meet and greet had Figment written on his sweater. Yeah, and I thought that was cute, and I wonder why they took it out. Yeah,
I don't know why. It looks very plain without it, right?
Very plain, very plain. And I have an unpopular opinion here, which is
they're gonna change his name, and everyone's gonna freak the fuck out.
Imagine, no, not a theory, just an opinion, which is why is everyone suddenly so excited about Figment? We loved Figment. I was like the only person in line when he used to have a meet and greet. Nobody gets on his ride, and then all of a sudden he's back, and there's huge lines. Everybody's cheering, and I'm like, okay, I don't know. Is it a bandwagon thing? What are your thoughts there?
Figment has been like super popular for a while, like at least 5 years. I can't remember when the hype kind of caught on. Definitely
after he left.
Yeah, it seems like. Yeah. But there was this kid I remember meeting in the line for the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland, and he was decked out in Figment gear. Like he had one of the shirts that was a purple shirt with the pink belly on it drawn on, and he had the hat and the backpack, and he was just like decked out in Figment. And I was like, oh my God, like you are a huge Figment fan. Are you from Disney World like area? He's like, no, I've never been to Disney World. And I was like, so you've never even like been on Journey at all? You know, he doesn't have any like direct influence from Figment. He's like, I just love him. Like, I've watched it online. I just obsessed with him. So like there's been a popularity, this weird like cult following for Figment for a while now. So and then you
Yeah.
saw those
Huh.
popcorn buckets were
Yeah.
bananas
Sold
when that
out.
happened too.
And even then, I still had my unpopular opinion. I was like, I think everyone's just jumping. But I don't know. I'm just old and curmudgeon because I found my old photo with Figment and it was from like 2007, I think. And I was like, so they had him before. Why is everyone acting like it's new? And then I did the
Everyone's
math
saying
and I
it's
was
new
like,
too. Like first time
yeah,
ever. I'm like, it's not
it's
though.
not. And it was better before because he had his name on it. But I did the math. Jeez Louise, that's like 15 years ago. So for a lot of people, this is
They
new
weren't
to
even
them
like
and we're just old.
memories yet. Like
Yeah. So for that, I say cheers, fine, and touche.
it's the first time Figment's at meet and greet in their lifespan.
In their life.
Yeah, it's interesting because his shirt is yellow and red because of Kodak, but that sponsorship is long gone. So it's weird that they
Yeah,
kept that shirt, but then took his name off of it, right? It's like,
very weird.
why keep the colors? But then I don't know. That is very interesting. It's the first thing I noticed when he came out. I was like, why doesn't it have his name on this shirt?
Same, same.
Oh my goodness. But nonetheless, very cute and glad to see him out and about. And hopefully they can get some hype over redoing his ride a little bit, huh? That would be nice.
I would
would be
prefer that over a meet and greet. Yeah.
Same. Oh yeah, all day. Next up is the World Celebration neighborhood of Epcot will finally open in December of this year. So we got some updates there, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool.
I'm a
And that's
little
just
bummed out about that one. Is that because that means when we go to our trip in October to Disney World, those walls are still going to be up, and I thought they'd be
yeah,
down by then. But
yeah. I know. Also, Journey of Water, which is inspired by Moana. I'm sure you guys have seen it around. That officially opens October 16th, which is the day we get on our cruise. So we're gonna miss it by like a couple days. Like, dang
darn,
it.
darn. Hopefully, I would like it if they at least took those walls down while we're
Yeah,
there,
maybe they will.
right?
We'll see.
And we can't experience it. That's okay, but just take those darn walls down.
Seriously. Maybe we'll just come in on the friendship boat instead and come from the backside so we don't have to see all that mess up there. And then Moana is also getting a meet and greet, which seems like it's pretty obvious that she would, but they officially announced that she will be joining the Journey of Water area. I'm not sure what that means for her over in Animal Kingdom, but we'll see. And then they also announced that Luminous, the Symphony of Us, is a new show, a new nighttime spectacular that they're putting in place of Harmonious, which is the last one in Epcot in that big lagoon. And that debuts on December 5th this year. So it sounds pretty cool. It sounds like I heard somebody else saying this too. It sounds like Harmonious minus the barges.
The barges.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of these that you and I love to make fun of, like these out of the bag. Now it reminds me of Chat GPT. You're like, hey, what could I call the show? And it's like Luminous, the Symphony of Us.
Right. It is Luminous, Harmonious,
Rodius. Wondrous.
Illumination. Like it's all like sounds like the same thing after a while.
We've got we had Wondrous at Disneyland.
Wondrous,
which
yeah.
I didn't see that one, but
it does say the Symphony of Us. So I'm curious to see what it's actually going to roll out like. Maybe they'll do something a little more focused for the fans, like the 50th fireworks or what was the Epcot Forever one was really cool. So maybe they'll do something a little more focused.
I would like it if it was more like, I really didn't like the original one, the original in my time, my generation. The first one I saw with that big globe.
Yeah,
but I know
the globe,
it did have fans. So they might also try to bring it back to the countries thing, which I'm curious. Like, which way are they going to go?
That makes sense. Yeah. I would like that too. That's cool.
Yeah. And I didn't hate Harmonious. I loved the music.
Yeah. I was not that big of a fan. I did like the fireworks though, because they were huge. However, they were able to blow them up like right above our heads. It was the biggest fireworks I've ever freaking seen in my life. And that part was very cool. But the rest of it, I was like, what is this? Like a bootleg Phantasmic or something. Anyway. Moving over into what is that area called now? It used to be Future World, but I can't remember what it's called now. It's one of those new names I still haven't stuck yet. And it's over at Test Track. We heard that Test Track is getting an update, a reimagining, if you might say. And this is very cool, at least in my opinion, because they're going to theme it after World of Motion, which
Very cool.
like
So
what?
throwback.
That's so cool. Bring back an extinct attraction that was also over there and theme this new attraction to kind of have that vibe and feel of it. Do you remember World of Motion?
No, I think that was before my time. My first visit to Epcot Test Track was already there.
I don't even know when World of Motion left. I think it was in the early 90s. But I do remember it does look like, I watched the ride through again, and it to me reminds me a lot of Spaceship Earth. Even the ride
Okay.
vehicles are similar. And instead of teaching you about like the history of all the things Spaceship Earth tells you, it's the history of transportation. So it's very focused on
Oh,
transportation, lots of animatronics, walking you through the history there. And then it was very slow, like Spaceship Earth as well. So now we're going to have that built in somehow to Test Track, which will be very interesting. Like, are they going to have a bunch of animatronics as you're like speeding by? That would be weird. But they did have like a concept art come out that looked like foresty, which looked really cool.
yeah, I like that. It seems like hopefully it'll feel more like you're driving in a futuristic setting in a real world while also learning about the history of transportation. I'm here for it because the old one or the current version looks too cheap to me, like a cheap Tron.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Maybe
Somebody
I would
on
love if they
YouTube.
cover that outside area too. So you don't like outside
Oh,
in a
yeah.
parking lot all of a
Just put like a
sudden.
box around it, put
Yeah.
some
Keep it
dark
dark.
ride
Yeah.
elements.
Yep.
Yeah.
So like
I
way
found
outside.
out the
Ah.
name World Discovery is the
Oh,
name of
thank you.
that
The
area.
area.
Yeah. So that encompasses Guardians of the Galaxy, where you're discovering different types of energy sources and how to hop through the universe and galaxy. And then this one's about transportation, I suppose. And then the
Yes.
Moana stuff, that's in what they're calling World Nature now. And the funny part about this, I think I'm just recently realizing these new names actually fit in better with World Showcase because now that one makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
World Showcase, World Nature, World Discovery,
totally.
and
Yep.
World Celebration. Yep.
It does tie it down pretty good altogether. I also looked up World of Motion to see when it closed. It was 1996. So
Wow.
it was a long time ago. Um, but I have a fun fact. So a part of World of Motion, some of you may remember, that was in Disneyland. And in my brain is one of those things that had been
Oh.
in Disneyland in this attraction forever. And it's something in Pirates of the Caribbean. And it was pre when they did the reimagining to add Jack Sparrow in. So before the movies came out, and it was like the original Pirates of the Caribbean, near the end when you're going up, you know how at the end right now, you're going up and Johnny Depp or Jack Sparrow is in his little room of treasures on the left.
Yeah.
Before that, it used to be a bunch of these like spooky eyes, like blinking, and they're like scary eyes in the dark. And then they had these two pirates pushing up like a bunch of treasure up that hill. And one guy with a big old butt, like I just remember him like pushing the thing
Wait,
with his
that's
butt
not there
sticking out.
anymore.
Yeah, it's been gone for hell long.
That's like something burned in my head as a kid, like
Yeah,
that, and the guy
totally.
with the foot. Like there's certain
Yep,
ones.
yep. And they were from World of Motion. So when World of Motion closed, they moved those
Oh,
animatronics into Pirates.
how funny.
So some of us that are more Disneylanders may have seen part of World of Motion in our lifetime without even realizing it. Yay.
That's very cool.
All right, moving on from Epcot. We're in Animal Kingdom now, and we are looking at a new Zootopia show coming to the Tree of Life Theater. There's no date yet for this one, but it's replacing It's a Bug's Life, which makes me kind of sad because I've always thought like it's okay that it's gone from DCA because I could just go to it in Disney World. But no, I can't.
Yeah.
And I really like that show. But what do you think about this one?
It's time. I think it's time for a new show. That show doesn't really get much of a queue. Last time I went, we still made a point to go, my family and I, but there was no line. And the queue for that at Animal Kingdom is so massive. I remember my sister and I were walking through it and through the tree. We were walking through the switchbacks, and we are like, how long did this line get when the park opened? It was like Rise of the Resistance long, like that whole outside area. And so I think it makes sense. I think Zootopia will breathe some new life into it. I don't understand really how it fits in terms of the story of conservation and nature, but I'm pretty sure the Imagineers can come up with a reason why our friends from Zootopia are coming to visit us in the Tree of Life to maybe teach us about, they have like different habitats and biomes in Zootopia. So I could see that they could do something like that. And I'm curious to see how they're going to add the 4D effects back, because things like the spiders that would hang down in Bugs Life, those things were
So
still
cool.
good and scary.
And
the
then
butt,
filling the whole theater with
yeah.
smoke. Oh, so
Oh
freaking
yeah,
cool.
when the fart, the stink bug happens too.
Oh yeah, the
And
stink bug and the
bug
little bugs at the
spray.
end. Oh my gosh, there's so many good things about that show. I also think it's time. It's fine. But Zootopia just doesn't feel Animal Kingdom to me. So that part I don't love. So I'm like, especially at the Tree of Life, it just feels like the wrong way. Like if they're going to build like a Zootopia area in Dino Land, like, the stuff, we'll get to that in a minute too, but all the stuff they're doing over there, if they were to build a whole Zootopia area and then have the show there, that would feel fine. But it's like in the Tree of Life and they live in a city. So it feels weird to me.
Yeah,
So I don't know exactly how they're going to work that out, but I'm sure they'll figure out some magic to make. And then what I was just talking about is the area over in Dino Land, USA. We all know that they are getting some TLC and some retheming over in Dino Land, and they've given us a lot of concepts and considerations. They like to say we're considering these things for this area. And I think last time we heard it was Moana and Zootopia.
Yep.
Is that the last ones? So they're saying Moana and Zootopia, but now they're saying Encanto and Indiana Jones. So they're switching it up completely already. The Indiana Jones part makes a lot of sense because that track is identical and the vehicles to our Indiana Jones adventure at Disneyland. So they could easily probably place in, the props and whatnot for that attraction. And that attraction is badass. So no hate, no
that
foul,
makes it a pretty easy when the first talks and theories started going around about what to put in Dino Land, like when they announced moving the roller coaster out of there, I kept thinking, South America, do something South America and just shoehorn Indiana Jones in, because that continent's not well represented yet with the animals and all that at the Animal Kingdom. So I think it's great. I think they definitely are going to have to spin the story, because he has nothing to do with conservation and animals. But what I kept hearing from the lead Imagineer that was on stage on the video was they kept using the word adventure, which I didn't hear as often when people talked about Animal Kingdom. So now they're going to start throwing that in more often, I think, to shoehorn as much as they can. They're like, it's about conservation and then the adventure that follows. I'm like, okay, fine. So
fine.
my dream armchair Imagineering, which they probably won't do, is if at the end of the new Indiana Jones in Animal Kingdom, like a whole snake conservatory, like that would be cool.
Ooh.
Like Indiana Jones' like worst nightmare, but I would love like a whole reptile area. There's a couple of them when you're on like the walking trek, but I would love like a whole snake thing, something a little spookier, add some South American elements to it. So, they can spin it. If we can spin it as armchair Imagineers,
right.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
There was I was thinking about like which Indiana Jones happened in South America, and I'm like, shit, wasn't Crystal Skull in South America?
Oof, I can't remember. It might have been. I do hope they just come up with their own, like they did with the
the
ones.
one in California in Disneyland is its own story, so they can just do that as well. Just like Batu was its own Star Wars story, right?
And Tokyo is too. Remember, we found out that Crystal Skull is just a
it just happened to be named the same thing. That's crazy.
So we'll see what they do there. It'd be fun too if they, now I'm asking for too much, if the story of Indiana Jones still considers dinosaurs as part of the adventure. Like maybe the MacGuffin that he's looking for is like the skull of the Brachiosaurus that has blah, blah, blah. It'd be a fun little Easter egg.
That would be fun.
Right? And then you had mentioned Encanto too, right?
Yeah. Yes, Encanto.
So that one, not much space there. I know in the concept art you could see the casita. Is that what it's called? The casita, the big house, and then reading between the lines, it sounds a lot like this is going to be more so about the biomes and animals of South America, sort of sponsored by your friends at Encanto.
Oh, okay.
So versus like an Encanto land, which I think some people might get excited about, but it's like, hold on a little bit.
Right.
So we'll see. And I think, like you said, they just keep kind of teasing this stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and with all that in mind,
Yeah.
just everyone's just got to calm down, right? Because it is
Yeah.
like they literally say considered, which is the
Yeah.
same trouble we were having at D23 Expo. And everybody's running wild with it right now, right? Everyone's like, they're
Yeah.
bringing this A, B, and C. I'm like, no, it's
Yeah.
not
And they said that
necessarily
about a
the
couple things.
facts.
Even the Pirate Lounge was like, yeah, by the way, just remember this is concept art. And I'm like, come on, don't tease us.
Like, come on, give us something real then. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
One last thing about this area of Dino Land being rethemed. Animal Kingdom's slogan, or not, I don't know if it's slogan or not, but it was real, ancient, and imagined. It's supposed to be those three things they hit with the animals in Animal Kingdom. And they were supposed to have, what was the land called for the
Beastly
Beastly
Kingdom.
Kingdom? There it is. Beastly Kingdom was supposed to happen, did not. So that was going to be the imagined. But then we got Avatar's Pandora, which is now imagined. So that one
Yeah.
fits that theme. We have, of course, plenty of real animals in Animal Kingdom, but now we're going to miss the ancient side of things if they aren't
Ooh.
keeping any dinosaurs. So we're trying to think, like, is there a way that they can combo in the dinosaur theme into Indiana Jones? Maybe. Who knows?
Then they have to now because they'll keep it that way. But also, they went decades with that dragon on their logo that never even had a land. Poor thing. We never got to see it.
He got cut for time, cut for budget. All right, so that is it for Disney World updates, but we have some from around the world as well. I'll just kind of run through these real quick. The World of Frozen in Hong Kong Disneyland opens November 20th. So that was our new update as the actual opening date of this year, by the way, November 20th. At the end of this year, Zootopia themed land in Shanghai Disneyland opens up. And Fantasy Springs in Tokyo Disney Sea opens in 2024. This one I'm very excited about. They have a Rapunzel forest, Peter Pan's Neverland, and a Frozen Kingdom all in this space, which looks so, so cool.
That's
and I
the
think
one.
it's like, what?
Oh, I was just going to say us California fans, Disneyland fans, should pay close attention to Fantasy Springs because even though it's all concept art, and considerations, a lot of that concept art was reused for the Disneyland Forward pitch in that project where they showed potential lands that would come
Right.
to the east of Disneyland Park and DCA Park. So very cool, especially if you like that one the most. It looks like a lot of details.
It does. It looks really, really cute. And there's like, come on, there's so much in that space like that.
Yeah.
They're gonna have
And a good mix of
forest?
classic, like you brought Peter Pan, but then some new and then some newer. That's nice.
Right. Very cool. And then lastly, in Disneyland Paris, they are also getting a Frozen theme land with no date yet. Just the announcement came through that they are getting their space there for that as well. And then cruises, which we are going on one very soon, very exciting. But they announced some new stuff for cruises as well. And one is that what is this? Lookout Key. I always make sure I need to pronounce it correctly because it's spelled C-A-Y, but it's Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point. And this is a new island that'll greet guests as early as June 16th of next year. So that's exciting. New space for cruises to make a stop by and have a Disney themed land and island to go to. And even bigger news, there is a new ship announced, which I was actually really surprised. I'm like, oh, didn't they just announce the last one? Like they're already moving on to the next. And we just saw the Treasure, right?
The Treasure came out recently, which is like the Wish. This new one is, I don't know if you remember, but it was in the news. They purchased a half-built ship out of China.
Right.
And I think that's what this is, right?
I did see the video of them working on it too, and it was like half built.
Yeah.
That's probably it.
So it was around like pandemic. There was a Chinese-owned cruise line that had to go bankrupt, and they built this massive ship. I think it's currently going to be the biggest in the world. And Disney scooped up, bought it at a good bargain.
Wow.
And they're just going to retheme it. I will say physically, it doesn't fit in with the rest of their fleet. It is so huge and like bulbous. But here we are, and that's pretty exciting. What else did they tell us about it?
They gave us the name. So it's going to be called the Disney Adventure, and then it'll be traveling through Singapore and Eastern Asia. So
Pretty
that's cool
cool.
too, because we don't have any ships that go over there right now, right? I think it just
Yeah,
goes
we
kind of
don't.
to Europe and then
And think of the
Mediterranean.
packages that you can
Mhm.
create, travel packages between whether it's Tokyo, Shanghai, or Hong Kong, and then combining it with one of these.
Oh my
Nice.
good Lord, some Adventures by Disney right there. Woo!
Yep.
So many updates going on, but we also got an update for the D23 Expo that's happening in Anaheim, which I thought was pretty cool. To hear finally. We've been all kind of like, what's going on with it, right? Everyone's starting to stir because it's usually about a year in advance we start buying our tickets. So we're all kind of like,
Yeah.
okay, what's going on? And they finally announced that the dates are going to be August 9th through the 11th of next year, 2024 in Anaheim. And D23 day is going to happen in the park the day before on August 8th. So it's kind of extended. I don't think they have had this before. So they're going to have a special day. I don't know if it's for attendees only or
Oh,
what is
you
going
know
on,
what it
but
was last time? I think they had Disney Plus sponsor it, right?
yeah,
Is
they had a
Disney
Disney
Plus
Plus
Day?
day where they
Yeah.
rolled out that blue carpet. Was it attached to the expo? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was like right before it. And
Oh, that's
we
right. And they were doing all those showings at all the
at
hotels
the
and
hotels we
even
were
the
at,
hotel we
yep.
were at. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and it looks like they've renamed it, right? To just call it D23 now instead of D23
D23.
Expo. You
Yeah.
caught that. I
And
didn't
and
even notice that.
what's funny is I feel like we kept saying that for a while, and then we corrected ourselves to make sure we said Expo so people
Finally
understand. And
fixed
then
it,
now
right?
they're taking
Now
it
they're
out.
just taking it out. They're like, nobody says it anyways. Just get rid of it. It's
Let's call it
D23.
Disney Con. Then people know what it
The
is.
Disney Con. That's what I actually just told my friend before recording today. I was
Oh
like,
my gosh, see, that's what
she's
they
like, what are you guys
should.
going to record about today? I'm like, oh, there's a Disney Con that happened. So we're going to talk about that today's episode.
There it is.
Another exciting thing that was announced about this next expo is that this is the first time it's going to be at multiple destinations. And what they've kind of mentioned is they're using the Honda Center, which is different than the Angel Stadium. It's the indoor one for like
Indoor, yeah,
hockey.
like Oakland
The Ducks play
Coliseum
there.
type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're going to have a huge stadium, right? An
Yeah.
entire stadium for all of us to go to these panels. And they said they're going to be announcing most of the bigger panels over there. And in the evening, too. They mentioned it's going to be in the evening. So we're going to have a more full day of events. But this could mean a huge difference, right? Because those big panels that they're now moving to the stadium, usually we have to camp out overnight for. So what if
Yeah.
that's a thing of the past?
That would be nice. Like everyone just heads over there after the main events of the days and they go
Right.
for the big announcements. I love it. I looked up on seat view from my seat so you could look at what it looks like in the Honda Center,
Oh,
and it's so
cool.
great. It's so easy. It's just like showing up to a high school assembly. Everyone has a good view. You know, we don't have to see the details of Bob Iger's pores. I just want to be close enough that I am there while the action's happening. And then they have the big screens that you could see what's happening on stage. I love it. I really hope this helps solve that really stressful experience we were used to.
Right? I just hope I can still see Bob Iger's biceps from there. Yeah. But
Remember last
anyway,
time we were sitting in the chairs on the regular D23 Expo floor, and suddenly we turned around and there was the biggest villain of all time, Bob Chapek, like right in our face. Didn't want to say anything to him.
I just remember you and I going like, oh my God, what if he says hi to us? What are you gonna, because he's kind of going around greeting people. We're like, oh my God, just look unapproachable.
Yeah. I definitely don't want to be that person that talks all the shit and is like, hi, I'm your biggest fan.
Right,
So like,
exactly.
oh my God.
Yeah. But then I also kind of wanted a photo with him just because.
Right.
Oh
The
my
life of a
gosh.
Disney holic.
Right. But this could be huge. So they said they're going to still use the Anaheim Convention Center for shopping, as well as a lot of other panels, like the smaller panels will still be over there. And then the big panels over at the Honda Center. I'm just imagining like an all day thing, which will be exhausting, but then we could just go to our hotel at like 9 o'clock at night and like go to sleep for the full evening. It'll be
Yeah.
crazy. If they're able to fit like everyone in there or something, that would be an insane change and a
Yeah.
very, very welcomed one from me at least. Because
I do hope we hear more about like the logistics, more because you and I are like operation brains, and I want to know
yes,
like how are they going to get everybody over there? Will they have shuttles? Because I can't imagine all the Ubers and self-driving, not self-driving, but self-driven cars by people having to go all the way across the highway which is I think the 5, whatever, which one that is, because the Honda Center is not really walkable from Convention Center,
Yeah, no, it's a
right?
little,
And it's
yeah,
not far enough to say it's far either. It's just like,
right. It's uncomfortably far to walk.
yeah.
We'll
And
just
in
say that.
August, sun, yeah. The
But
heat
yeah,
of
my
summertime.
God, it'll be so hot. I'll like, and imagine the surge pricing on Ubers if they don't do
Yeah.
something. They have to do something. I don't know what they're gonna do. That's kind of crazy and wild. What if they like close down the street and have trams come or something? That'd be so fun.
Well, that'd be cool.
They can only go 14 miles per hour though. So anyways, the last things here, let me see. I wrote down a
Tickets.
couple
How do we
fake
buy
outs.
tickets?
Huh? Oh,
How do we
tickets.
get
Thank
tickets? Yeah.
you. Tickets go on sale for 2024 D23 Expo question mark if they're still calling that or not.
Right.
Next spring. So we have some time to breathe. They announced the tickets will not go on sale until spring. So
That's different.
some time. That is definitely
Usually
different.
it's like a year, right? I
Yeah,
was
it's usually like
panicking.
almost
I was like,
exactly a
what?
year before. Yeah. I know. I
I
like
forgot
having
all
them in
about.
my hands to be excited about right now.
Yes, it is nice to have the year to look forward to, and episodes where we can start planning. So I guess we'll have to wait till spring to truly plan our itinerary. But yeah, I forgot about Destination D23. Woke up the other day to all these texts of like fun Disney. I was like, what's happening? What am I missing out on? So I'm glad they didn't release tickets right away. We have plenty of time.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And last thing I have written down is just to talk real quick about the fake outs that happened because there were quite a few of those, which there always is. But they started off, this is the weirdest thing. They started off the performance or like the panel, right? The big parks panel with a performance by the Muses of Hercules. And they sang the gospel truth, followed by, they brought out Michael James Scott and he performed Can Go the Distance. And then the Muses came back and performed Zero to Hero. So we're getting like 3 Hercules songs in a row. And then nobody talked about Hercules for the rest of the day.
That is very interesting.
It was so weird, especially with the rumors going around about Hercules coming to the Hyperion Theater.
The theater, right? Yeah, I was thinking the same.
Yeah. So like a lot of people were like, oh my God, they're totally bringing Hercules and they're going to announce it. And then nothing happened. Just 3 Hercules songs back to back for no reason that we can figure out. It was super weird. And then they also brought the Muppets out kind of out of nowhere. And I got really excited. I'm like, oh my God, what are they going to tell us about Muppets? Are they redoing Rock and Roller Coaster? Like, what's going on? I was super excited about the Muppets. They're talking about they're celebrating their 50th anniversary, which is super exciting and very cool. I also thought it was a lot longer than that for some reason, but they kept kind of sounding like they wanted to make an announcement, but they never did. They just kind of had them pop in and out, which is great. The Muppets are great. And people at the event got to see them in person, which is always cool. But I thought we were going to get something big from the Muppets because they just kind of came, they like interrupted a session when someone was talking.
I think it's a fake out also. I thought something was going to be announced. Bummerama.
Very weird. And then the last fake out is that, no, that was it. There's only 2 that I caught. I thought there was a third one.
But I think in general, there was still so much ambiguity. So if anything, you could say a lot of it was a little bit of a
It
fake
depends
out.
on what your level of fake out is at this point. It's pretty low for me because like half of the things
Yeah, I mean, it's been 2 years since we saw the first set of what they called Blue Sky, and then those have already almost completely changed.
right.
2 years later,
Right.
not even a year later. When was that? Maybe a year later. And from the expo to now, so who knows? You know, when I see the construction happening, that's when it's more exciting because then people start doing updates on the actual buildings and all that.
Real,
so
right?
it's
like,
real,
okay,
yeah.
Something is happening.
Yeah,
The
I
story
think it's like
within something may change a million times, but at least something's happening.
probably 5 years or something was the saga of watching this Moana thing come to this fountain come to life.
I am so over it, and it hasn't even opened yet.
Same.
Well, that was the biggest updates, at least, that came out of the event, and it looked like a really fun time. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, Mike and I were not able to attend, but we are lucky enough to have a friend of the show join us today, and we are going to invite her in and see if she can share with us a little bit more about what it was like to actually be at Destination D23. All right, Jessica, you are fresh back from Destination D. How are you feeling? Are you tired?
Yeah, like I was saying, I'm tired for other reasons. I had flight delays, so I
Oh
didn't get back
no.
yesterday until like 3 a.m.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
but I had a lot of fun. It was better than I thought it would be. It was different from what it used to be a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, is this your first time at Destination D or have you been multiple times? Tell us about that.
So I used to go back when it was at Disneyland because I live on the West Coast. So back then it was a lot more experiences, and the talks were more like the kind of talks you get at the Disney Museum. So they did it for two
Oh,
years there, and so they had a lot of it where it was just like interviews or panels. And then at nighttime, they would always have like a concert experience, but it was like a good concert. Like
That's
one year,
cool.
yeah, one year it was like Alan Menken sang for like over an hour, and then another year
Nice.
it was Richard Sherman. So
Oh,
yeah, so they always had good concerts. But then at this one, it felt a little weird and different because it felt more like half of it was they were trying to do expo type announcements,
hmm.
which was jarring to me. And then they would transition over to the stuff I was used to, which was like, oh, and then Becky Klein would come in and do like a weird Disney thing, which is like, that's what it used to be. It's just a lot more of that stuff than like, let's announce things. Like, yeah, the
okay.
announcement stuff was weird. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah.
I always call them the upstairs panels. They always have like the second floor at D23 Expo. They always have like the smaller panels that are all of those types of like talks, like where they dive into history or do some crazy, weird Disney talk. That's always so much fun. Um,
Yeah. And I
so
could see
cool.
how it's totally different because if you are doing more of the intimate like talks, it's very special for those of the people who are in person. Whereas because they shoehorned these big announcements, it started becoming like more than just hanging out together and seeing panels. So that is interesting that it changed a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do
So
they?
I don't know. They started doing them in Disney World, starting with the third version of Destination D23. So I
Ah,
don't know if
okay.
they switched at some point to that type of thing because they just like I said, the first two that they did in Disneyland, they never did that before. So
Ah,
Wow.
interesting. Do they have so I've been to the Pacific Northwest, the PNW mouse meat, and they sell it in a way to where everybody gets a seat at every panel. Is that similar at Destination D23?
yeah, it's the
Oh, that's
same thing.
cool.
They do sell like, oh, one is like preferred seating and then one is just like general seating. But no matter where you sit, you can see it, and you can also see the stage too. So it's great because like everyone gets a seat, and
That's cool that they don't run out.
yeah, so you can like go in later if you want to, or like
Nice.
and-
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
I
So
everyone
also
would you
like
say it's
that you
less
don't have to.
stressful?
Yeah, I was gonna say that you don't have to like plan which ones you need to go like over the other ones because there's only one at a time, right?
yeah, so it's way less stressful. Um, I actually kind of preferred, so this one was so great that I preferred this one to the last D23 Expo. Um,
Ooh,
just
Yeah.
because, like I said, like we got a lot of stuff, and we also had like we did have like, the great, in the movie panel, which they didn't show on streaming, one of the best things was that they showed the 100-year anniversary short. And
Oh, I keep hearing
that,
about it.
yeah, that was like, I don't think anyone was there that didn't cry at the end because it was so
Oh,
good. And
oh,
they do showcase like almost like every single character from all the past Disney and some Pixar movies. They're like all in there.
wow.
Actually,
That's the one
no
I think
Pixar,
it's
just
Once
Disney.
Upon a Studio and
Yeah,
premiering before Wish, I think. Wow,
yeah.
that'll be nice.
Yeah, and then they did show us like 10 minutes of Wish. So we
Oh,
got to hear two songs. That sounded pretty cool too. But like we saw all of that studio short, and that was the best. Yeah.
wow. Ooh, I can't wait for that.
very cool. I also am very excited about the fact that they had a lot of extra things to do at Destination D23, which you just can't do at a thing the size of the expo. And they had like an after hours party and a Halloween party. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I'll just get the Halloween party out of the way. It it was okay. It was a typical like, oh, people dressed, but they were just like they were mainly in line to meet and greet with two characters that they had there. One was like Oogie Boogie and the other one was Mickey Mouse. And it was like two long lines just to meet both of them. That's what people were mostly doing. And then they had some cookies and they gave out a bag. They gave us another bag. Let me show it to you.
Oh, a Halloween theme bag?
Yeah, so it's supposed to be this kind of bag. I think it was supposed to be bright orange, but they ran out of that color, so they gave these out. But it's like you can flatten it out and it becomes bigger so that you could use it as a trick or treat
Oh, it's
bag.
like a pumpkin.
Oh, I
Yeah,
like
or you can
that.
like punch it up. And then they also gave us like this flashlight that was like Goosebumps themed. So
Cute.
yeah, that was a treat that we
Yeah.
got there.
Interesting. So the bag we're seeing looks a little bit like a handbag, and then when you expand it, it looks more like a trick or treat pumpkin bag. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
and all the bags came from like the main sponsor of the event, which was the sponsor called Lug.
Wait, so does
Lug.
Disney own Goosebumps now too? I guess Freeform or something, TV.
I don't know if they own it, but I do know that they have the show that's coming out on Disney Plus.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
who owned that before? Was that Nickelodeon?
I don't
No,
think
Nickelodeon
anybody.
had Are You Scared of the Dark?
Yeah.
Which was
I
like the
think it was
Oh,
original.
okay.
just
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
the book
Yeah,
R.L. Stein, right? Oh, that's taken me back to
Yeah.
yeah,
the
yeah. But
Um,
then I'll talk about the other after hours
yeah.
event. That was a great one, which was Epcot. So I had no idea they were going to do this. They didn't tell us until like about a week or two beforehand. They sent us out all emails saying like, "Oh, we're gonna have a Epcot event. We'll give you more event like details later." And then on the day of, when I think they solidified more things, they sent us out sort of like a rough schedule saying like, "Oh, you can get in starting this time." And then during this time, they had us all corralled for like about an hour and a half. They had us all corralled in this one other section so that they could sweep the park and get all the regular guests out. And then
Oh.
they left three rides open, but it was like the three big rides, which was the Guardians ride and Test Track. Plus, I guess for people who don't like roller coasters, they also had Spaceship Earth open. So that ran from like 10:30 until midnight. We could just like ride those over and over
Fun.
again. Yeah.
Wow.
And so like I went on Guardians because of the pre-show. I could only get on Guardians like three times, but it was just like once you're done, you could just like get right back on, and it was just like it was just
How
all walk.
exciting. Did you get
Yeah.
any songs that you've been hoping to get, or have you already received all the songs?
So it was my first time on there. So I heard
Oh,
the conga song twice, the Gloria Estefan song, and then One Way or Another. So
oh, cool.
yeah.
Of course, you got the Congo one. That's the one that I'm waiting for. That I haven't.
Oh yeah,
And you got it
I
twice.
had it twice. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
What
amazing.
did you think? That was your first time on Cosmic Rewind.
Yeah, I was screaming and laughing the whole time. It was great. And it felt like it was like Disneyland Space Mountain, but then with like teacups because they sort
Ooh,
of like
yeah.
swirled through it. So the other thing I thought, I was like, well, it also reminded me of like the Green Gots ride from Orlando, which is like it's like a roller coaster, but then they like, twirl you around to see things.
Yeah, very true.
But then I thought you saw more things if you sat in the middle versus like if you sat like towards the front more, because it seemed like if you sat in the front, you didn't get to see the story of the ride as much. So that was something I learned because we got to sit in like because we went three times, we sit on like all these.
Wow.
Yeah, switch it up.
How fun. Oh my God. That is still one, it's one of the best rides. It
Oh,
just
one
feels so
more thing
good.
too. I didn't mention this. So the other thing too was they also had they let us see the Moana section earlier.
Oh,
Yeah. And as I was going through there, I was like, I was by myself. So then I was just talking to another person who was there too, because we were like, swapping phones so we could each take pictures of each other in there. And she was telling me that like, so I only went at night, but she went at daytime and nighttime, and she was just saying how like, oh, you can like see more of the stuff at daytime, but at nighttime the pictures are better.
Oh,
And yeah, and so then it's very well themed. They do have a lot of signs that are about like what are different types of water, bodies of water, why it's important. And it's also like very interactive for like kids to play with because there's just like all these sorts of like sensors and water things everywhere. So like
yeah.
adults and kids can play with it. And also when I was there, it was super hot. So I could tell like, okay, if I was there during the daytime, I would just probably stay there because there's like mist
All the water.
everywhere. Yeah. And then you can just like run through all the water and all that stuff that's going on there. Um, and then at the end of it, they had the person who earlier, we saw her earlier, they had the head of Epcot there, and she was just asking everyone like, "Oh, what do you think of it?" And then,
That's so
take
cool.
yeah, so it was cool to see her too out there.
That's
Nice. I think this is the
awesome.
first I'm hearing about like the nighttime aspect. So that adds a little bit more interest.
Yeah.
Makes me want
There's
to go
this
check it out.
one
Yeah.
place where like you can get a great shot if you have like a wide lens because you see Tafiti and then next to her is the lit up, the golf ball lit up. And then on the side, if you time it right, a monorail can go by. So
Okay.
you could
Oh,
possibly, if you had a wide lens, get all those three things in a shot.
wow.
That
How
is
was
good.
the
Yeah.
nighttime lighting in that area?
It was great.
Really
It
pretty.
wasn't like dark where like you couldn't see anything, but it was enough to where like, oh, it wasn't like just, bright lights on you. And like I said, you could also, with your phone or whatever, just take like really good pictures on it too of the whole
Very
thing.
cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that I was very jealous of you that night for getting that after hours party in Epcot. It's really cool. Like, especially limited amount of people in any
Mhm.
space in any Disney park is so special already, right? So, and especially get to do that with a bunch of people that are there. They're obviously all Disney holics if they're at Destination D23, right? So, like, that's really
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
I also wanted to ask you, Jessica, about the audio animatronic exhibit. Could you tell us about what that was like?
It was just a room filled with a range of the audio animatronics they had. One of them they showed like, oh, it was one of the first ones they had, which was like it was just a face, and it was creepy because it was just like like eyeballs and mouth of some robot, and that's it. And then they showed a few of them like as they got more and more advanced, and they had two of the audio animatronic skeletons right next to each other. One was like the first one that they built full skeleton, which was for like Carousel of Progress, I believe it was called the A100. And then on the other side, they had the A1000, which is what they use for Hondo in Galaxy's Edge. So they had them
Oh,
right next to each other, so you could like compare how one looked next to the other.
That's cool.
Um,
That's actually very carousel progressy also, right? Getting to see the changes like that.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then they had like one thing I thought was cool, and it was just on the side, and you couldn't really tell unless you like looked at it. Was just like there was just like a rack of clothes. And at first, I guess you could just walk by it really quick because it wasn't as flashy as the robots. But then when you looked at it, you're like, oh my God, this is like everyone's costume. So they had like the costume from like Cosmic Rays, from the Figment ride, from like some of the Carousel of
Super cool.
Progress characters, and all the way to like Galaxy's Edge. Like I said, they had just like all these costumes that were just up there, like it was like a rack of clothes at Fashion Week or something. So that's
Wow.
yeah,
That's
That's fun.
crazy.
I like how they showed the progression of animatronics that you mentioned, because I'm hearing a lot about these newer ones like Hondo. They're more electric, less hydraulic, and
yeah.
supposedly easier to maintain. And so some of these new projects, like even the new Splash Mountain, are going to feature these newer versions. It reminds me of
Mhm.
Terminator in a
Yeah.
good way.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I want to mention one other thing they showed too was the audio animatronic spec that was for the Beauty and the Beast ride, because they
Ooh,
showed how like one was like, oh, how the audio animatronic for it, but then they also showed like the little display Pepper's ghost that the Imagineer created to sell the idea of like,
Oh,
this is how we should do the beast transformation trick. So he made it as like a little model and then they
Ooh,
built it
so
in the movie.
cool.
Yeah. So they had that there too. That was really cool.
That is very cool.
yeah.
Wow. I've never even
Yeah.
seen that before.
Yeah, they showed it. They showed like a video of it to us during like the regular presentation that they had of like, this is what the
Nice.
transformation looks like. Yeah.
A
That's
good
awesome.
exhibit.
Yeah.
So I wanted to also ask you if you kind of did this a little bit already, but how like would you compare if somebody has never been to either D23 Expo or Destination D, what would you tell them about how they're different and how do they compare?
The current version too, right? That you just went to.
Yeah.
Yeah, because also like I think the expo is going to change based on like what they announced. So I don't know what the future of the expo is going to be like. But how the expo is it's more like it's more like a Comic Con or any cons where it's like you have a bunch of panels that all run kind of at the same time, and they also have like a show floor. So you have to sort of decide where you want to go and what you want to do. The D23 convention, that's more of the Destination D23 is more of like it's almost like a guided tour in a way because they have a schedule of like these are the events that you have to do, and then at nighttime we have this other schedule of events. So you think a lot less, which is great. You just sit
Nice.
and absorb it all. So that I would say that's the difference between the two.
I'm kind of loving this
Oh,
right
that's good.
now.
It may be possible, and Jen, this might be the first time saying this out loud, that I don't even go to D23 next year and maybe wait for the next
How do
Destination
I
D23.
kick people out of this call?
The only reason why
What?
is, yeah, hashtag never forget. When we went to the last D23, it was so bad. They really screwed us up.
First of all, it's
I like
too soon
seeing
to be saying
everybody.
that, especially the day after 9/11. What are you doing?
What? What are you saying? What?
Never
Nothing. Go ahead.
forget. That's
Never
the thing.
forget.
Oh shoot! I just used that in general even before that. Sorry, Mona. But no, I'll never forget how horribly we were treated at D23. And I remember saying, and it's on an episode, I was like, I'm not going again next year. And then I just remembered it, and I was like, I got to stick to my word and not go.
Okay.
Especially
See ya.
finding out that they did it again and they just keep announcing these blue sky concepts, and I don't know, I'm getting tired of it. So we'll see. They got to really convince me, but I'm curious about these new formats. That's what's piquing my interest.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited about all the changes they're gonna make. I still have so much fun that they could announce nothing and I'd still think it's worth it personally. So I'm going, but you can
Yeah.
stay at
Yeah.
home fine.
I'm just remembering a lot of people said that, so I'm going to call people out that were like, I'm never going again. But yeah, I don't know. It was not good that time, and I don't want to let them get away with that. But obviously, you'll probably convince me to go on a future episode.
Yeah, you should definitely go. Jessica, are you going to be going to D23 Expo in
I already got
2024?
my room reserved.
There she goes.
For sure I'm going. I also want to show some of the stuff that I got. Can
Oh
I show
yeah,
it?
that's another thing you'd mentioned you wanted to talk
Oh,
about. She got so much freebie giveaway amazing stuff. Tell us all about it, please.
Yeah, so I already showed you those two bags. And then just right when you're checking in on the previous day, that's the other thing, you gotta go on the previous day. Like it's better if you go like a day early than the event start. Okay, I don't know. Okay, I have to put my hand over it. But like, so right off the bat, we got this great bag, which is again from Lug. And I probably won't take it in the park because there's so many pockets.
Thank you
But
for that, for not being the
yeah,
person in front of me with that bag at bag check. Thank you.
I know it's annoying. But they gave us a lot of stuff, including like one of the things, let me see if I can find it, was a pack of Lorcana cards, which are like, worth a lot these days. And also, somewhere in here is like, got a fast pass, not fast pass, what is it? Those things you wear on your wrist.
Magic band.
Yeah, we got a Magic Band Plus. And
oh,
then
that's cool.
like a
And the bag
hat.
itself is like a periwinkle color, it looks like, which I
Yeah,
do
so we
like.
had a choice of like four colors. And so this was the color I chose. I think there was also like tan, red, something else. Oh, dark gray. Those are the
Wow.
choices.
Choices for premium swag, that is pretty
Right.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How they have the time to like divvy that out. Like I would just be like, everyone's
I
getting
have
blue. I don't care.
Yeah, I heard that someone was saying like, oh yeah, some cast members were just like up like super late the night before, just like stuffing all these bags. So like, thank you to all those cast members for doing this
Aw.
because it was it was this basically just started everyone off in like a great mood because we were all talking about like, oh my God, these bags, they're freaking awesome. And then I looked it up on the site of the company who like had this. I think these bags are worth like between like 140 to 180 bucks. So like these aren't just
Wow.
Wow.
yeah. But
Wow.
that was
That's
just the
really cool.
bag itself. And then like I said, we got a bunch of stuff inside too. And then on the day of, like after you come back from lunch break, they gave us like these they gave us more stuff which was like so there was also an incident involving these things. So on the first day after you came back from break, they put like a little Figment figurine, like one of those bigger Funko Pop figurines on like everyone's chair. But some people just went in and then like they took more than one
Oh,
and I think they're selling them on eBay right now.
That's shady.
Yeah, and so then there was some sort of controversy around that. And I think in the beginning, security was just letting people walk out with like 3 boxes. But I think after a while, then they started like questioning like every person who's like holding more than one, like why are you holding more than one? Um, but if you can lie well enough, which most people can, they still walked away. I didn't see security take anyone's away, so there's that. And then on the second day, I think so that they wanted to get away from that, they gave out these like Ahsoka Tano Mickey Mouse ears, and
cute.
yeah, so how they gave that one away was they had just like a huge bag of them and they just said like, oh, take one. They get up to the end of the road, take one, pass it down. And I saw someone in front of me take two. So it's,
Oh,
that's still
this is
people.
why we can't have nice things sometimes. Come
Seriously.
on.
I would tap that person on the shoulder, be like, excuse me, you don't have two heads, do you?
Another one pops out. Yes, I do. Monsters
I'm so
Inc.
sorry.
Did they
Oh my
have
gosh.
merch to purchase?
Yeah, so on the second floor, they had a Destination D23 store. They had the Imagineering store there, Mickey's of Glendale. And then they also had this ink and paint, which was just like all these other merchants who were there who just wanted, that they had like Joffrey selling Disney related coffee, some sock company, that bag company had like a big space in the middle, and like a lot of people were buying their bags because actually their bags did look pretty nice. And then some watch citizens for watching a watch company, and then some other stuff too. So those were the three types of companies that they had.
Yeah.
Sorry, stores that they had. So I did buy. There was this one store where they had, I think it was the Mickey's of Glendale. They had this like huge Muppet section. So I got like a
Cute.
Muppet Labs shirt for myself. Um, that could add to my huge collection of shirts.
Yeah.
Um, and they also had some other stuff too that looked pretty cool, but like I already didn't have enough room in my suitcase because this backpack's like pretty big. So I didn't buy too much.
My gosh. Yeah, they
Wow.
stocked you up. They gave you a bag, but then they filled it full of swag, which is amazing. But then you couldn't fit anything else into it.
Any extras?
Yeah, exactly. But it
Awesome.
was and then also like, just the bag. The story of the bag is that like, oh, it's a couple who like they really love Disney, so they built all these bags for the purposes of like, family, but also like, going on trips. So that's why there's so many pockets in it. It's for like people with families and stuff. So
Okay.
yeah.
That's
And
very
that's why
cool.
I think a lot of it too is like I said, they use magnets instead of zippers, so it's easy to like, open and close if security was.
Oh, I'd like to see that more often, actually. That's kind of cool.
Right?
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Jessica, I'm pretty jealous. It sounds like you basically made your ticket price back on swag, let alone all the fun you got to have, which is super cool. And a free ticket into Epcot, right? Was that just included
Yeah,
in the
that was
event?
just included as part of
That's
it.
so
Like,
cool.
That's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Super, super jealous. I'm definitely going to try to go next time. So I have 2 years to figure it out. And
Well, I do want to warn you that, so I was talking with someone about it. They said they went to the one the year before, and they said it wasn't as good as this one. Like I think last year's, they said all they got was like some, like last time they had it, all they had was like hand sanitizer as a free giveaway.
Ooh, that's a big
Oh,
jump. That's a
Yeah.
interesting jump. They got better
Yeah.
sponsors this year, I guess, huh?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Oh
well,
my
that's good to know.
gosh.
The way you described it, I really like the format, like the combination of a little bit of a con, but then the the calmness of just like a narrated story that they want you to experience and go through these panels. Pretty cool. And I think you're right. It sounds like they're trying to switch up the format for both coasts events. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for joining us. And I'd like to wrap up with a question for all of us. Which announcement are you most excited about that came out at Destination D23? Start with Jessica.
Yeah. So, this is because I like to have things on discs. I was excited about the 100, I think they're selling a special edition of like 100 discs of all their movies, like Disney and Pixar movies.
Oh
Oh,
my gosh,
Some of
wow.
those movies
insane.
are not on Disney Plus. So I'm excited about that.
Oh, okay.
That's
Okay.
nice.
Fair.
It's cool to collect physical media. It doesn't happen that often, but when they put something special together like that, pretty
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
How about you, Mike?
Excited about. I would say the Once Upon a Studio short film. I just everything I'm hearing from it is like a tearjerker, and I can't wait to see it. And it's such a nice way to probably cap off the Disney 100. And I remember when all of us were at the expo last year, there was not it wasn't the same film at all, but it was a montage about the last 100 years, and that was a tearjerker. So I can't even imagine like a beautifully animated short.
Yeah.
Right.
There's this part in there where after you two watch it, I'll tell you like they showed us like a behind the scenes thing for it that was really cool too. That like, I'll let you all know later.
Ooh, we'll do that with like our Wish review, and we'll review the short too or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
And then I think I'm most excited about Test Track because I kind of wrote Test Track off on my last visit. I'm like, I don't need to go on this ride that often. Like it's one of those things to go on if somebody hasn't been before. It's been a really long time and there's literally nothing else to do. Otherwise, I could skip Test Track. I don't really love it that much, except for the racing part, which is always fun. And now I get to not only get to reminisce about an old attraction while on Test Track, but also gets new theming, and it's always a good reason to check it out again, right? So
Mhm.
And unexpected. I wasn't expecting a retheme on that side of the Epcot park at all.
same, yeah. I was very surprised by that. I'm like, oh, Test Track, they're talking about Test Track. Pay attention.
Yeah.
Well, today was a lot of fun. So many updates coming in from Destination D. It was really fun to talk through those. And thank you again, Jessica, for joining us to tell us what it was like to be feet on the ground at Destination D. Because, man, I need to go now next time it comes around.
Right. So thank you
Yeah.
all for listening. We hope you enjoyed episode 154 of the Disney Holic Show.
Follow us on social media at the Disney Holics.
And if you want to get in touch, send us a DM on Instagram or contact us at thedisneyholics.com.
Okay,
Okay,
bye.
bye.